All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you know how it gets down. You know how we roll here, man. Anything you're going through, any challenge, any obstacle, anything that's in the way or you feel is in the way of your success, we are here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. As always, I have an incredibly great group of people that come on this show, and today is no different. But it's always kind of an exclamation point on it when we get people that spend time in the DMV because you already know, born and raised in the DMV. Now he wasn't born there; he's from Jersey, but I think we can officially claim him because he's been around, he's been in the DMV for years now. But when it comes to his work, and I wanted to make sure I'm on record saying this, just last year, Scott, I spent my first year sober. So my first year sober, and I saw the work you're doing, whether as a restaurateur, an entrepreneur, and the things that you're putting out, I think is incredibly positive, and the things that need more people like you to emphasize these things and make it like really cool because you really don't need to drink to the point where you're not remembering things. So all that being said, Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Antoine. It's great to be here.
Yes, and so, when it comes to the work you do, the entrepreneurship work you do, I believe you refer to yourself as a restaurateur. And I think that's intriguing because that's one of the most difficult businesses to start. So the best way probably to start off the conversation, just give us a little bit of your backstory, how you grew up, and some of those lessons that you kind of picked up on early on that led you to have the work ethic you have now.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up right outside Atlantic City in southern New Jersey in a small town called Summers Point. And it's not far at all from the beach. And we really relied there on tourism. So it's a lot of restaurant jobs, seafood restaurants. And I worked in a lot of small business growing up. I did a little bit of everything, landscaping, cleaning pools, all different types of home services. But I
Right.
really fell in love with the restaurant industry when I was a kid. I started washing dishes at 14. And from there, I did, almost everything in the restaurant industry. I was a server, a busboy, a barback, bartender, a host, food runner, even some work with valet parking out front, manager, really everything in the restaurant industry. And after that, I ended up at James Madison University in Virginia. Um,
Dukes, baby.
yeah, the Dukes, that's right, and
I
had a great
played I
time
played
there.
at Stony Brook actually. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, they were before they went to the Sun Belt, they were in the CAA. So
Nice, nice. Yeah. So I had a great time at JMU. It was a hell of a time. And then moved to Arlington, Virginia after college. Went from there. I was 9 to 5ing for a while and decided I want to be an entrepreneur and started off as a restaurant owner when I was 30 in 2012.
Mhm. So when you talk about your love for the industry, as you're going through school, how were you able to kind of compare what you're learning as a like an early entrepreneur, someone that's working, busboy, washing dishes, taking care of the parking, all the elements that come with owning a restaurant, you're learning this stuff on the job. But then school is kind of just giving you this letter grade. It's not, I mean, it's clearly not something they don't teach entrepreneurship at the schools. You actually have to go out and learn it. What would you say those experiences were like for anyone that's listening that may say, "Hey, school may not be my thing, but I like this," and they're trying to figure out what their role is going to be?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked me that because I find myself in conversations with a lot of people these days about is college even necessary? And this might be not an opinion that everybody appreciates, but I don't know that it is anymore. You can learn so many skills and trades and so many things about entrepreneurship, just on YouTube for free, right? And
Yeah.
I think that we live in a time now where there's such incredible access to information that an 18-year-old person out of high school that could decide they want to be an entrepreneur and doesn't want to spend 4 years and $100,000 going to college can really learn tons of skills outside of it. And the weird thing for me is, when I was going through college, my parents kept asking me, "What are you going to do after college?" And I didn't know. And I ended up doing things, in entrepreneurship that really had nothing to do with anything I studied in college. So, I think it's probably a hot take in a sense because I don't think people like to look down on college. I think college is an amazing experience. But I mean, if you're 18 and you're hungry and you're a hustler and you're ready to be ambitious, I'm not sure you need college in today's world where there's so much access to information out there.
Yeah, it's like Kanye said, the concept of school seems so secure. It really does. It feels like it's secure. I'm a person that went to three different colleges. I'm currently registered. The first 3 years of college, I was on 3 different campuses in 3 different states. One was a community college, and one was a liberal arts college, and then one was the big university at Stony Brook. And what I learned is it's all about the connections that you're making. So when you're on these campuses, the relationships and the people that you have in your corner, all of that stuff is going to be incredibly, incredibly important because now I more so think about the relationships and the lessons I had as a football player and the things I learned on the field than anything I actually learned in those classrooms. I'm just telling you right now, it's about the experiences that you actually have with people that's going to take you to the next level and is going to be there for you during those hard times. So, you mentioned 9 to 5 in it for a while, and I know from experience, working at 9 to 5 as an entrepreneur-minded person can feel like hell. So, walk us through some of those, tough years and, when it was a point where you're just like, look, I got to do it. If I don't do it, I myself might take my own life if I don't go stop. It's because that's how it feels. And I hate to be that graphic, but that's how
Yeah.
it feels when you have that mindset and you're listening to folks that just are not doing it the right way. You have your own vision.
100%. Yeah, I hear that loud and clear. And that's how it was for me. My first job out of college, I actually was selling insurance, auto, home, and life insurance. And if you want to talk about something that, even your customers are not excited about, call somebody and try to sell them a car insurance policy. They don't care at all, right? And so that definitely
Actually,
was
I
the
just bought it.
experience.
I just got it upgraded to a Camry, and that process is just whatever the best deal is, and give it to me. I could care less.
100%. And I'm like, hey, I'm from Liberty Mutual. We've been in business 100 years. I'm your special, insurance guy. And people are like, I don't care what's the price, right?
Right.
And I was wearing a suit and tie every day to work. This is 2006. I was required to. And I'm sitting there like driving into a job that I hate, selling something I'm not excited about when it comes to insurance, wearing a suit, absolutely miserable. And I didn't know how I was going to make it out of there, man.
Mhm.
And to your point, it was just that's when it was a feeling of like, look, if I'm even going to survive in this world, I have to be able to try to do my own thing. And I was 24 at that time. I didn't know anything about investors or venture capital or private equity or anything like then. And so I just started working all the time for 6 years, worked as hard as I had to save all as much money as I had to until I could open my first restaurant with the money that I saved
Right.
at age 30 because there was no other way for me.
Now, 30 years old though, what did you what I mean, we don't have all the answers. I know for you college kids, you may feel like 30 is old, but we're still very young at 30.
Yeah.
How was that experience actually opening that restaurant? What made you decide that like what type of restaurant was it? Walk us through that first investment because I know that could be challenging.
Yeah, so I got really lucky in that because I had gotten to know a guy who owned a restaurant with his father that was right near where I lived. And I
Mhm.
went to them and I said, guys, give me some advice. I saved 150 grand. I want to invest it in a restaurant. And it was perfect timing because they said, we have this restaurant that's old. We were thinking about changing it into an American bar, American sports bar concept.
Oh,
Why don't you invest with us so we can change into that?
oh,
And so that's what I did. I invested with them. We changed a Caribbean restaurant that they had into a restaurant and bar called A Town. And basically, that was like a high energy party spot, brunch spot, sports, all that kind of stuff. We did really, really well. But that was a very lucky moment for me because if I had to figure it out on my own, I wouldn't have done as well as I did, given the fact that my partners had a lot of experience.
right. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was listening to you on a previous show, and you don't just do restaurants. You have tons of other businesses. I believe I saw one of the things I definitely want to chat about is the boxing, Matt, because I'm a boxing trainer. So you
Okay.
have businesses that are not just in the restaurant business. However, you had mentioned that you work with a team of people. Speak to us a little bit about the requirements that you have when it comes to the people that you actually work with. Because again, and for you listeners, regular listeners, you've heard me say this, but first timers coming in, this is going to make or break you right here. You're going to have a great vision, you're going to have great things and great ambition of what you want to do. But that person that comes in, if they're not critiqued and vetted out the right way, good night. So you will get eaten up and swallowed alive.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree with that. I mean, for me, it's been all about partnerships. I've opened like 35 stores in the past 12 years of restaurants, bars, barbershops, boxing gyms. We have a dog daycare and boarding chain that I run with my brother. And every single thing I've done has been about the right partnerships. What I really look for is a person that I think is an expert in their industry and also just a good person that's really going to work hard. And if
Mhm.
I find someone like that, then I think it's someone I can really build with.
Okay, now you guys can go rewind it and you guys can actually just test me on this. Did he say money? Did he say money at all? Did he? I don't know how many times I have to say it, but you guys focus so much on how much of money, how much the profit is, and what the money. Did he say the nicest logo? Did he say the nicest website? Did he say the nicest logo? Did he say the nicest t-shirt, the merch? None of it. He said
Yeah.
none of those things. Are you an expert in your field, and are you willing to work hard? That's
Yeah.
it. And when you're in business, though, so much of it gets misconstrued on the other stuff that I mentioned that people don't realize, hey, it's really just about, how much are you willing to, how much work you're willing to put in, and how much do you actually know? So,
Yeah.
spit it out a little bit because it's hard to explain that to folks when they like. I remember actually speaking of there was a guy I was dealing with who he graduated from Catholic University. He felt like he knew everything there is to know about business, but it's hard to explain that to folks when they just are fresh off a degree and they think they know everything. So when you go about kind of explaining to people that may come to you with an investment, a proposal, stuff like that, how do you explain to the younger generation, hey, it's really going to be about your persistence and what you know?
Yeah, that's really tough these days because I think we live in a world where everything is instant gratification and you got a cell phone and you can get anything that you need in 30 seconds. So
Mhm.
really getting the younger generation to understand like, hey, you might work at this for 5 or 10 years before it works at all is really hard to explain to them. But that certainly was my experience. I couldn't get my first business off the ground for 7 years after I got out of college. That's 7 years of working 2 to 3 jobs, saving all my money, wondering if I was ever even going to get a chance, and then finally got that chance 7 years later. I think that's probably about standard. I think a lot of people these days come out of school and think I'm gonna start some new business, and 3 months from now I'm gonna be set. It's gonna pop. I'll be rich. I'm gonna be killing it. It doesn't really work like that. I mean, that might work 1 in 10,000 times. You might see somebody have that experience if they just happen to get lucky and get that right thing going, or maybe they're a super genius from Harvard, right? But for a regular guy like me and regular people out there who have to make it on their own without that 1 in a billion idea, it's going to take years and years and years of grinding and sacrifice to really make it and make it pop off.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, like I mentioned in the intro today, one of the things that really drew me to your work was a year, and actually close to 2 years now. For me, I was on a boat. It was my birthday for the Bahamas. I mean, I must have had at least 15 Bahama Mamas before 2 p.m. So,
Yeah.
when you get to the point where you drink yourself sober, that's how, and again, it's my birthday, and obviously, but by the end of that night, I said to myself at that point, I don't think I want to drink anymore. I'm a Caribbean background. There was alcohol, growing up. I was never a really heavy drinker except college, but I said, I don't think I want to drink anymore. I didn't have a drink for a whole year until the next year I got on another boat and it was just some champagne. Now I don't even do anything more than maybe a beer here or there. And I bring that up because, you went sober and it's crazy to think about because when it comes to you being in the restaurant business, I had a brief stint. I used to work actually it was a Green Turtle and is this still there in Chantilly?
Yeah. I think Chantilly's still there. There's a lot of green turtles around
Yeah,
still.
so there used to be a D1 Nova right there in Chantilly, and then the Green Turtle just opened up. So I worked there for like 2 weeks just to try to get people into the boxing gym. Obviously,
Ah,
because the D1 closed, but I had experience, with bartenders and how it works on the behind the scenes. So when I saw that you're sober, you don't drink, I'm like, oh man, there's something
yeah.
must have went down. But this guy to make his
Oh yeah.
yeah, he's not smoking, he's not drinking, and now you're putting this message out there where it's like, hey, I'm staying sober because I'm focused. So talk to us a little bit about that journey, how to come about, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I stopped drinking 2 years before I opened my first business. So we're talking about almost 15 years ago. I was 27 when I stopped.
Hmm.
I got into alcohol when I was 17, and for those 10 years, it was like almost my entire life. I
Mhm.
drank almost every day. I probably drank 98, 90, 99% of those nights in those 10 years between 17 and 27. I was the party guy, I was the party promoter. In my fraternity back at JMU, I was the social chair, so I would throw all the parties and all that kind of stuff. And it just got so out of control that I got just absolutely miserable by my mid-20s. I
Hmm.
always tell people that best way I can explain it is like when I was 17, it's like 99% good and 1% bad because, maybe 1% of the time you get sick or you drink too much or some problem happens, but 99% of the time it's fun, it's a blast, everybody's doing it, it's brand new, all that good stuff. By the time I got to 27 years old, it was like the other way around. It was like 1% good, the drinking, and 99% bad. And I was just sad from it. And I really wanted to get successful in business, but I didn't know how because I just couldn't see past what I had going on right then, and the alcohol problem that I had. So, the very last day that I drank was in Arlington, Virginia. I got into a brutal fight, being stupid, running my mouth, and just being a person that really wasn't me when I was sober because I was, messed up. And finally, I just hit rock bottom, and that was the moment that I kind of turned it all around.
Yeah, and the one thing too I'll add to that. Well, first of all, I appreciate your transparency and sharing that. But
Yeah.
the thing that hit me, especially on that boat, is I don't want to be dependent on this. I don't.
Yeah.
I've had so many friends, man, so many friends that, you're out partying and they would tell me, no, we need to get drunk first before we go talk to these girls. And I'm like, that's just lame. Like to know that I have to go and get a substance and then all of a sudden I'm able to develop, like it's just moving in a direction. And you guys, especially, I'm praying that, hopefully we inspire you to get on this journey yourself. But one of the things that you're really going to start to realize is how weak it makes you personally on the inside when you have to go depend on a substance, to the point where I had friends who, look, they're late for everything else, but we're making sure we're on time because that liquor store closes. They know exactly what time the liquor store closes, everything. So, this journey that I'm on now, I couldn't be happier. I'm happy I don't have to depend on something else in order to have fun. And obviously, again, don't just take my word for it. You can hear Scott, who was obviously in a lot worse shape than me with it. And it just, the turnover and the way you're able to come back on the back end. It's a beautiful life out there, man. It's a beautiful journey. So, all that being said, I do, like, as I want to be very respectful of your time. Can you just speak to us a little bit about, I guess what's next? You have tons of businesses out there and you have tons of things that you're doing. What is the next thing? How do you see this thing ending and all that stuff?
Yes. Yeah, no, congratulations, man. I'm happy for you. And you're exactly right. I think there's this myth about alcohol that they say it's liquid courage. It gives us confidence. It might give you confidence in that brief moment, but the rest of the 24 hours a day, it's sucking away your confidence and you wake up sad and scared and miserable and all those things. And so it's like, I hear you. It's like, do we really need to drink before we talk to the opposite sex or someone we're interested in, or we're doing something? It's like, once you get rid of it, you'll be more confident than you've ever been, but you'll be confident 24 hours a day instead of for those 2 minutes, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, man, I'm now these days I'm running a sober coaching program called Locked Back In, where I essentially work with people for 6 months, to help them stay off alcohol, but not only stay off alcohol, but learn how to live in the world
Hmm.
without it. There's a saying that it's not just stopping the drinking, but it's learning to live in the world sober at that point.
Wow.
And so that's what I help people do, so they know how to go through life situations, chase their dreams, stay disciplined, and really grow while making sure that they don't drink as well at the same time. It worked for me. The things I've been able to do in my life and achieve, through business, I never would have been able to achieve, had I not stopped drinking. And so I know it can drink, I know it can work for other people too. And that's what I'm trying to help out with now.
Oh man, that's awesome. Now, was the curriculum or the process, was that something that you created on your own, or was it like?
Yeah, it actually was. So, I never did sobriety the right way. I never did the 12 steps in AA. I went to a couple classes just to learn, but I never got a sponsor. I never did the 12 steps. I really learned my own way. And then, I've been sober for 15 years, maybe about 14 years ago when I was only in it for a year. I started to help other people I know who wanted to get off it. And then basically about, maybe 6 months, a year ago, I started to realize, I've helped so many people stay off of or get off of alcohol and stay off of alcohol. Maybe this is something I could launch into a full-on coaching program, a coaching business, and really be successful with. And so far, it's been great. I've got a bunch of clients that I work with. Essentially, we do a first call where we talk all about their problem, what's driving it, what their triggers are, what their struggles are with it. And then we basically after that we talk, once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on how much support they need. And of course, they have my number if they ever have a weak moment and they need to call and talk at that time. That as well too. But it's been fantastic. I mean, I always tell people my other businesses, you can come and get something to eat, or you can drop off your dog for a service, or you can get a haircut at the barbershops, or you can even get a workout in. But with what I do with Locks Back In, it can really change someone's life. If you can help someone get sober and accomplish their dreams, it can change their whole world. And so that's what we try to do now. And it's just been really a fantastic experience.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, that sounds like one hell of a program. And the one thing too, especially here in this Move Swiftly world and the people that I've had on, the people start these programs not from some cookie cutter place. It's actual authentic truth that they're giving you and experiences that they've lived through themselves. So as you can hear, it's not a coach talking at you, it's a coach talking to you and talking to you directly with what they've been through experiences. I forgot the rap is like when it comes from the heart. J. Cole, that was it. When it comes from the heart, don't it feel more realer? All right.
Yeah.
Can you just tell people how to get in touch with you and all that good stuff if they're interested in hearing more?
Yeah, for sure. My Instagram is the best. It's just my full name, Scott Parker. You'll see me on there. There's a link in my bio that talks about that program and what we do. And I've got another website, Scott Parker Brands. So just my name, ScottParkerBrands.com, has all my small businesses on there and my companies that I'm a part of. And people can message me through there. So look forward to talking to more people and appreciate it as one. Appreciate the opportunity to be on.
Oh man, appreciate having you on. So the final thing I do to close out all the shows, Scott, is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are going down 95 in Arlington. You have your suit on. You got to sell some insurance. You're in that place where it's like, oh man, I got to do this again. So pretend that that version of Scott has just walked into the Zoom room. Give him some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
I think I would just tell my old self, you're gonna get through this. You're not gonna be miserable in your career forever. You got to keep pushing. It's not gonna happen in 1 or 2 years. It's gonna take 6 or 7 years, but you will get to the other side of this into a place that you're happy with what you do every day and work. So just keep going.
And I have absolutely nothing to add to that. You guys heard it, listen. And well, I will add, if you are a first-time listener, the reason I close out with that question is because if I'm describing you, if you're that person in that place, again, the promise of the show is to indirectly help you with whatever it is you're actually going through. So, all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.